Good afternoon, this is Animal Rescue Team, a game by Matt Leacock and Lisa Towell, and this is a game in the Shut Up and Sit Down Presents line of board games that we've actually physically worked on. And so because of that, it's me here doing the video teaching you how to play Animal Rescue Team. Each player is going to be taking on the role of a different specialist. Each one is particularly good at a different type of rescue, and they all start with their own equipment and have a special skill. Animals come in small, medium, and large varieties, all of which you'll hopefully then be able to fit into these vehicles. Each of these vehicles have different capacities and different capacity types. They all move at different speeds, and some of them can tow other ones around. And a larger truck can even carry the motorcycle in its little pocket, like some sort of mechanical kangaroo. Once you've got the animals into the vehicles, you take them to shelters. As players, you'll be working together as a team to complete 3 major missions, whilst also staying on top of minor rescues that are going to pop up along the way. Before we get going, we're going to set up the game. As you can see here, I've just sort of dumped everything out, and crucially, you want the board in the middle of the table. Randomly select one of these setup cards. These cards are going to tell you where to place the big shelter, the little shelter, all of the vehicles, and all of the specialists when you start the game. So here we have the large shelter is in Rowan Canyon, and in Bayshore, all the way over here, we have the small one. The animal behaviorist and the rope rescuer are both going to be starting over in Rowan Canyon, while the firefighter, the veterinarian, the swift water technician, and the extraction specialist are all going to be down in Bayshore. Now that we've got all the shelters, the specialists, and the vehicles in the right areas, we can flip this card over and it becomes one of the reference cards for those playing. Give one of these to everyone playing, and then put the rest in the box. Give the 6 specialist cards a little light shuffle, and then deal one of these to each player. And then again, return any unused specialist cards back into the box, unless one of them you really want to play as, in which case just swap yours out for that one. No one's watching, I promise. Once everyone has a specialist card, look at the bottom of it for the starting equipment and place that starting equipment in the same area as the specialist. An important thing here is that even though each player will be just one specialist, all of these specialists are left out on the board regardless of how many people you're playing with. Next it's time to find out which animals need rescuing, and we're going to do that by drawing some cards from the rescue deck. Take this deck and give it a good shuffle. And if there's more than one person here, then you could do everybody at the table a solid, and someone could shuffle this deck, and someone else could shuffle this deck. Everybody's shuffling. Once we've got this deck all nice and shuffled, we're going to place it here at the top of the board. And to kick the game off, we're going to need 3 of these cards to be flipped over and placed into the 1, 2, and 3 slots down the side of this board. Crucially at this point, you may well draw a time ticks on card. If you do, just set it aside and continue drawing, and then after all 3 of these slots are filled, you can shuffle any of these cards back into the deck, because whilst they're going to pop up and make things happen, at the start of the game, we just want normal rescue cards. And similar to the setup stuff from earlier, this is nice and easy. Each of these cards will have an animal on and a location. We simply find those animals and put them into those spaces. We got a little dog in Davin City, we got a cat in Newstone, and then finally all the way up here we've got a big dog that needs rescuing, also needs to stand up. Now that we've got all of the bits on the board, it's time to neaten up the stuff that's remaining. I've put all of the animals here in this one big chunky animal container, and you want to separate some of these parts so you've got roadblock tokens and these little mission tokens all in a location you can easily grab them. If you're playing a 2-player game at this point, also give each player a funding token, just a little bit of money as a treat for you too. Now though, it's time to organise the big problems you're going to face throughout the game, the 3 missions you need to do. Separate this stack of mission cards into 5 different piles according to the card backs, shuffle them individually, and then place a level 1 mission here, a level 2 mission here, and a level 3 mission here. This setup is just for the introduction beginner game. If you want to make the game more challenging, then check out the back of the manual. But once we've got those 3 cards there, we're going to flip over the first one, and we have a sense of what our first mission is. And now we've sorted all that out, wonderfully, we get to do a little bit more tidying. You can take all those other mission cards and put them back in the box. Oof. If you did get somebody else to shuffle this pile of purple logistics cards for you, then give them a little thank you, and now make a little deck. These logistics cards go down here, and you're going to flip over 2 of them at the start of the game. Your other deck of shuffled cards is going to go here, and that's the event deck. It's just broadly bad things that might happen, probably. I don't want to spoil it. It's usually bad. Finally, we're going to need to track the passage of time, and we're going to do so ingeniously with this small piece of cardboard. Take the time token and put it on the first step of the time track. Take the 2 dice and the first player token, which is a rabbit, arguably it's the first player rabbit, I like to call her Barbara, and give them to the starting player. If you can't decide who's going to go first, then we recommend the last player to feed an animal. Before we get into how you play, first of all, how do you win the game? Those 3 mission cards at the bottom of the board, if you complete all 3 of those missions, you win. However, if the time token gets to a deadline spot and you have not finished the task that's underneath that particular little deadline circle, then you immediately lose the game. The other way you can lose the game involves these rescues. Each time a rescue gets added, it's going to shuffle these rescues down the board, and if at any stage you have a rescue that you haven't finished and it would be pushed off the board, well, you didn't rescue that animal, and unfortunately, yes, you've lost the game. But losing the game doesn't mean that the animals don't get rescued. It just means that another team had to come in and rescue all the animals that still needed help. After the person with the starting player bunny has taken their turn, play will continue clockwise around the table until, for better or worse, the game ends. Now on anyone's turn, everyone around the table can openly discuss plans or ideas of what they think might work. However, if it's your turn, you get to decide what you do. And if anyone needs a reminder of that, just point them to this bit of video and say, I get to decide what I do because it's my turn. It's the rules. On your turn, you get to do 3 actions. Most of the characters you can play as will have a special action that you can do. They're going to be listed on their cards. But broadly speaking, the 2 actions you'll be doing as part of these 3 will be moving and rescuing. And you can do these actions as many times as you want. You can do 3 moves, you can do 3 rescues, but you must finish 1 action before you start another one, and you can't carry over actions from turn to turn. You can't bank one and say, I'm going to do a 4 next turn. No, it's not allowed. When you're taking a move action, you're going to take a vehicle that your specialist is currently in, and you're going to move it around the board. The number of spaces you can move in a vehicle is based on that vehicle's top speed, and they're all on the vehicles. So this van has a top speed of 2. But as you might expect, there is a difference between, let's say, a boat and a motorcycle. Boats, as you might expect, can only move alongside spaces that have water in them, kind of crucial, very water-based boats, whereas normal non-boats can only cross where there are bridges. The other main rule about movement is that you can tow little things on the back of vehicles, but if you do so, you're going to lose 1 speed. So a max speed of 2 now becomes a speed of 1. There are a couple of wrinkles to this, most of which make sense. You can obviously tow a boat over land, but you can only drive a boat on water. I shouldn't have to explain that, but here we are. An important rule that you don't want to miss, though, is you cannot leave animals on their own. Once you've got an animal rescued and in a vehicle, well, you can't then just wander off into different vehicles and leave them on their lonesome. It's completely fine to leave animals in a shelter once they've been rescued, but until then, they do need you there to help them. And this feels like a good time to point out that there are a couple of actions you can do that don't count as one of your 3 actions on your turn. Free actions. One of these is taking specialists out of vehicles or putting specialists into vehicles. This doesn't cost any actions and you can shuffle them around however you like, but you can't do this in the middle of another action. So you can't do some movement and then drop someone off. It has to be a complete move action, and then you can start doing the free shuffling, not before you're finished. Basically, move actions can never be interrupted. You need to start it and finish it, and then you can move on. The second action is a little fiddlier, but it's a lot of the game, so it's fine. Action number 2, it's rescuing. Completing a rescue requires a couple of criteria. First of all, is your specialist in the same area as the animal that needs rescuing? And secondly, do you have space in the vehicle that your specialist is in for all of the animals that need rescuing based on looking at that card? Now, this is just one small dog in Davin City. We have a motorbike with a perfect slot for them on the back. Yep, they'll fit in just nicely, which means we can attempt a rescue. Succeeding in a rescue means exceeding or meeting the difficulty number that's shown in the upper left of that rescue card. So for this one, it's a difficulty of 5. To do this, you'll be rolling 2 dice. Now, rolling 2 dice to get a total of 5 doesn't seem bad, but these dice are weird. These dice don't go up to 6. In fact, the average roll you're going to get on rolling 2 of these at the same time, the average number is 4. And that's going to make completing rescues a little bit tricky. 4, as you may know, is not as high as 5, which means completing this task is going to require that we bring in some bonuses. And here's where your character's specializations come in. If the specialist symbol that is shown on this card matches the specialist that you're currently playing with, so in this instance, we need the rope rescuer, but unfortunately I'm playing as the extraction specialist. But in the event that those icons match, you're going to get +2 to your roll. But even if you're not playing as the character that has the specialization that matches, if you bring that specialist along to the area, you're going to get +1 to your roll, which is why you have these 6 specialists always in play regardless of how many people are playing. If you haven't got the skills, bring along somebody who does. On these cards, you might have other things that will grant you bonuses, maybe vehicles or equipment. Any icon you see on that card, if it's in that area, get +1. Finally, you've also got a number of bonus tokens which players can collect during the game, and one of these bonus tokens allows you to just add a value of +1 at any point to a dice roll, and whilst you can't use them on other people's turns, only on your own rolls, you can use as many of them as you like on one task. But one of these dice results isn't even a number, it's an hourglass. That doesn't seem good. It's not, it's the concept of time. At the end of the rescue phase, for every hourglass symbol you have showing, you're going to move the time token along the time track by 1 space. Which is why it might be really important to know that there's another kind of bonus token you can get that allows you to spend it to re-roll 1 dice. And it's also worth having a look in your hands to see what logistic cards you currently have, as some of those cards will allow you to change these numbers. Once you've done everything you can though, you've rolled the dice, you've added pluses, you've maybe re-rolled them, it's time to find out if you succeeded or not. If the total number you get is equal to or greater than the rescue card's difficulty, then the rescue is a complete success and the animals involved are no longer in danger. At this point, you must load all of the animals you rescue into vehicles in that location. So we would have had to use a free action here to remove this character so that we can make room in the back of the motorbike for a little dog. A crucial small rule here is even if the shelter is in the same location as the animals you're saving, you still need to have space in the vehicle that you are currently in for all of the animals you're rescuing. They cannot go straight into the shelter. You gotta have a vehicle and you gotta have space. You'll then get the reward listed on the bottom left of these cards, sometimes 1 token, sometimes more than 1 token. If you don't manage to get the number high enough, then that does mean that you've failed the rescue. It doesn't mean it goes away. You can attempt it again immediately if you still have actions on your turn. And it is then, after you've worked out if you either succeeded the mission or failed the mission, that you then look at these and advance the time token 1 space for each of these time symbols. And crucially, if we did achieve this, if we did manage to rescue this dog, we're then going to flip this over, put it on the same track, and now it means that when cards that have been flipped get pushed off the bottom of the track, nothing happens, you're safe. It's only ever if you have a rescue card that hasn't been finished and it gets pushed off the bottom of that track, that is again one of the ways that you can lose the game. That's the 2 main actions covered, moving and rescuing, and now we've got a couple of free actions that you can do without spending one of those. I've already talked about transferring, but let's go into a bit more detail. Transferring specialists is as easy as putting them into a vehicle or taking them out of a vehicle. It is advised that if you're moving another player's specialist like this and taking one of their people and putting them into a vehicle, you ask their permission. It's just polite. Animals are similar. Now, the only rule being here that once you've got an animal into a vehicle, you can only move it to another vehicle, or if you're in an area with one, into a shelter. Now obviously, when animals are on the map like this, the only way you can get them into a vehicle is by taking the rescue action and successfully doing it. And that means once they're in there, they can't go back on the map. They have to stay in a vehicle or go to a shelter. Shelters, however, have limited space. And these slots are more malleable. You can put a variety of different things into them, but once a shelter is full, it cannot accept any more animals. Thankfully though, you'll see these symbols on the time track that represent the large shelter and the small shelter emptying out. Once the time token reaches those points, you can clear that shelter and start taking new animals that you've rescued to those shelters. Every time you empty one of these shelters, it means the animals are being reunited with their families or going to good new homes. So you can return these animals to the safety and sanctuary of the game's box. The third thing you can transfer is equipment. You'll notice at the start of the game, when we looked at specialist equipment, we didn't tell you to put that in front of you. It's not something you keep in front of your character. It exists in the world on the board. And that means if you want to get equipment to an area where it can be used, you need to put it into a vehicle and it will take up 2 slots. And while we're on the topic of edge case fun, you may, if the large truck and the motorcycle are both in the same area, you may, as a free action, transfer the motorbike into the back of the large truck, and it can keep all of the cargo that's currently in the motorcycle. Now you can drive around with a motorbike with a chicken in it. So transferring animals and people and equipment between vehicles are free action you can do in between any of your other actions. The other free action we can do here is to spend a reward token. Now this is where these little cards come in handy. It'll tell you exactly what all the different reward tokens do, so I'm not going to go into it. There's more detail in the manual, but honestly, this reference card, it does the job, it's good. Again, though, I'll point out that reward tokens, complete opposite of equipment, they don't exist on the board, they cannot be put into vehicles, and they live in front of you as a player, and you cannot give them to other players. You might not want to spend them though, because the third free action you can do on your turn is to complete a mission. And similar to the rescues, you're going to need to be in the correct area with the things listed on the card, and then you are also going to need to spend at once all of the listed tokens. For example, horses on the highway. This is going to require that we are in Mariposa and that we are able to spend 2 of these support bonus tokens at the same time. But if you've only got 1 support token, well, maybe you can still do it because you need to spend all of these tokens at once. You can't chip away at it. However, you just need to have a specialist in that area who has that token, which means if I have 1 support token and another player has a different one, if both of our specialists are in Mariposa at the same time, then as a free action, if we've met all of the other criteria, we can spend those tokens to complete the mission and move on. If this is the final mission you need to complete, then congratulations, you've just won the game. Give yourselves a little round of applause. If it wasn't the last one, then there's a couple of things to do. If it was your turn when this mission was completed, then you get to take a logistics card as a little bonus, then remove the card representing the mission you just completed, and now you can reveal the next card. Oh, what do we got to do? Smoke, and it's threatening huskies. That means we've got to get 2 types of equipment into the canyon and then bring 2 tokens to the creek all at the same time? Hey. So completing a mission, spending bonus tokens, or moving things around in vehicles, all free actions, but after you've taken 3 main actions, any combination you want of move and rescue actions, it's almost the end of your turn. We've just got a couple of little things to do. First of all, the passage of time means every time you've finished your turn as a player, you are going to be flipping another rescue card. More animals are going to appear on the board that you need to get to and rescue. Every time you add a rescue card, you are going to be shuffling them all down, and as I mentioned earlier, if you shuffle one off the edge and it's face up, you lose the game. If it's face down, it's no problem. Put it to one side or put it back in the box. But you may remember earlier I mentioned that not all of these cards are rescue cards. Some of these cards will just say, time is ticking on. If you draw one of these cards, then you don't have to shuffle down the rescue cards at all. You simply move the time token 1 space along the time track. Now that we have a new mission revealed, you might want to use these optional mission tokens to remind players which locations are relevant to the current mission. After you've flipped over a rescue card and resolved it by either shuffling a track down and adding a new animal to the board, or simply moving the time track along by 1, it's the end of your turn. Take the first player rabbit, Barbara, and pass it to the next player. Finally, we've got a couple of things that can happen involving this time track. Now, time doesn't continue in a linear fashion like you might expect. Time only moves on here when either you have hourglass symbols on a dice roll at the end of a rescue action, or if at the end of your turn you flip a card and it says time ticks on. But as time does trundle along erratically, things are going to happen. When the hourglass hits this exclamation mark, you are going to draw 1 event card. Flip it over, read it out, and then go through all of the instructions. Something has happened, and now you have to deal with it. You'll notice that further along down the track, this one has 2 exclamation marks. This one has 3. This one has 4. Yes, you will reveal 2, 3, or 4 events at that time, and then have to deal with all of them at the same time. Earlier in the video, I mentioned that these small house symbols and these large house symbols, when the time token reaches there, you are going to clear out the small shelter or the large shelter, respectively, but also this purple iconography underneath it means that you're going to refresh the cards currently available in this logistics shop area. And whenever you get to take a logistics card as a player, you can choose one of the 2 currently available, or a bit of top decking, just take the one on the top and have a mystery time. Ooh. All the instructions you need for these are on the cards themselves, and it's encouraged that you don't keep these like a hand of cards. Just when you get one, put it in front of you. If other people want to look at it, sure, have a look. Finally, as pointed out earlier, these deadline symbols, the horrible red circles, if the time token reaches there and you have not yet finished the mission that it's attached to, then immediately you lose the game. But again, don't fret, losing the game doesn't mean that the animals don't get rescued, it just means another team has to come in and help. In the manual it says you should probably buy them lunch. But again, it's a fictional lunch for fictional people, so don't worry about it, it's free. If you reach this position, however, and you have already completed that mission, the rulebook informs you that it's time to breathe a sigh of relief. So just make sure everyone around the table does breathe at least a small sigh of relief, and then you can move on. And that's it, you're basically ready to get out there and start saving some animals. Oh, that's not a good start for the chicken. Complete all 3 missions and you win. If these slide off the bottom, or if you hit a deadline you haven't reached, you lose the game. In the event that you do lose the game, you can play it again with an easier difficulty. If you find it too easy, you can ramp it up. Please do check the back of the manual for some rules as well on solo play. But finally, there's a really cool section at the back which just gives you information about how to be a real-life animal rescuer. There's some fascinating insights here about what you can do to help animals in the event of an emergency, but also if you are an owner of pets, it's got some really good advice on prevention, things you could consider doing so that if you do end up in a situation where you need to evacuate, you just aren't going to be somebody who needs to have their animal rescued. And that's all you need to know about Animal Rescue Team. Good luck getting out there, and good luck saving those animals.